How's it going, everybody? So I wanted to, on all three channels, I just did one on a high watch day, as we sort of take a look at potentially July 11th. A little bit of a theory there. Uh, we will have to get into July 18th also, which is when The Dark Knight came out, and then him rising on 7/20, which is when The Dark Knight Rises came out, or rose on the third day. And the 18th is on a Friday again, and he would be rising on a Sunday, a la Jesus. So that's a high watch date too. But this one, good Lord willing, I'll get to that uh, eventually, if necessary. But I want to take a look at 823. Now, often, so many different times, I've always looked at 753 Back to the Future clocks. For some reason, I've always looked at the Back to the Future 753 clocks as July 53rd. Remember, July and August were added late in the game, as September was once the seventh month, October, Octagon, Octopus was the eighth month, November the ninth month, December, decade, decameter, all stand for 10. December was once the 10th month. But they're all bumped up too because they added Julius Augustus. And Shaking My Head Productions just did one on, let's go to Shaking My Head Productions. And they just did one on, which I believe is an AI site. It's called Orange Julius, What's in a Name? And the whole Orange Julius, it's about Julius Augustus. And this AI site speaks to that also. And July and August are married to each other. They're both 31 days. 31 plus 31 is 62. Well, Revelation is 602 in Strong's Concordance. So if we look up Revelation 1:1, where this is the revelation of Jesus Christ, the revelation, it's G for Greek, 602 or 62, as Jesus or our Lord does not count zeros, and so neither does Mystery Babylon either. And my birthday is 7/6/1961. Again, 76 is Adam in Strong's Concordance. If you go 7 times 6 times 1961, my number is 82362. So there's the 62. Well, what if my number, just plain and simply, is about August 23rd? If it's about August 23rd, Back to the Future clock, 753. And these clocks are about July 53rd, like that is what popped in my head, that's what they mean. And remember, the clocks were 25 minutes behind. And this is the year 2025. So instead of 753, it was really 818. So my mom was born on 818. And you look at 818 as August 18th through this July 53rd, which would end up being August 22nd, or the eve of the opening of the book of Revelation, or my number 823, 62, 62 for Revelation, 823. That I do believe would mean the rising would be on August 23rd, which means that the event would take place August 21st. And you look at Maggie Gyllenhaal's birthday. That's the Maggie from The Simpsons, and that's also the Maggie I'm sorry, and Maggie Gyllenhaal is also the only person on the earth ever born to be or to star in both Donnie Darko and The Dark Knight, which is all about Donald's Darken, right? I noticed her alleged birthday, because we don't know when her real birthday is, but Hollywood tells us their world, Mystery Babylon tells us she was born on 11/16/77. Well, 11/16 is the eve of 11/17, the Zechariah 11/17 Bible verse about the right eye wound. And so Maggie to August 21st. Now remember, the first X across America eclipse took place 2017, August 21st. And there's also another August 21st date with Trump. I think that might be when he said, I am the chosen one. I think that was the date of that also. But that was the first of the two eclipses that made the X across America. And the other eclipse date, hang on just a second. The other eclipse date was 4/8/2024. That was the second solar eclipse that made the X across America. Center Point, Carbondale, Illinois. Well, if you look at that second eclipse to the rising day, it's 502 days. Now, 502 days is very significant because we have to go back to August 12th, 2022, which was the day Sirius the Dog Star rose, and it was also the midpoint of two total lunar eclipses and two total solar eclipses, the nearest of each. 88 days in both directions of the total lunars, which took place on 5/16/2022 over to November 8th, Election Day, 2022. And 11/8 is also 88. And the two total solars was on December 4th, 2021, all the way over to April 20th, 2023. And that's our iPet Goat total solar. Because she delivered the Mayflower. That was the apple that rolled across the floor. That was the Mayflower. And remember when it rolled across the floor, well, suddenly it's gone. There it is. So it rolled across the floor and it gave us the Mayflower, the lotus, the rebirth that took place on May 5th, 2023. And that's Lily. It's the only time, because Lily is representing a total solar eclipse as she sits inside of the corona. She sits inside of that corona and she's representing Trump's exit. There's his upside down pyramid hand signal and over his head. So let's go back now and look at that date to when his rising would be. It's 502 days, and that's the amount of time between both total solar eclipses. So if we go 2023 to April 20th, which is, because that's the only time a total solar eclipse gives us the flower full moon. Her total solar took place in April. It's the new moon. The total solar is the new moon. and it delivered the full moon as it rolls across the floor and turns into the Mayflower. And May's full moon is called the flower full moon. It's the only time that takes place in our timing. We don't see another time when a new moon, total solar, delivers a May flower full moon. So if we run both of these total solars, where the midpoint is when Sirius the dog star rose on August 12th, which is also the midpoint of two total lunar eclipses. It's the most unique day that we ever have had. And that was on December 4th, 2021. There's your 502 days. So there's your 502. Now, if you look at this total solar eclipse that made the X across America, if you run it to 821, which would be the event day, it's a perfect 500 days. 500 is Antichrist in Strong's Concordance. So if you key in Antichrist, in blueletterbible.com, Antichrist G500, G for Greek, 500. That's why, and there's, hey, it's 2:51 a.m. right now. 2:51 is halfway between this 502. Take 502 and divide it by 2, it's 2:51. And remember, it was 251 days in both directions from that midpoint to the total solars. And it was 88 days of the two total lunars in both directions. 88 is Trump and simple gematria. A total of 176, and 76 is Adam in Strong's Concordance. But let's go back. If you multiply the 251 days in both directions of the two total solars times the 88 days in both directions, you get the opposite of text to Trump, because text to Trump is 88,022 and it's 22,088. Now, if you multiply the 502 times the 176, you again get this 88. 88,352. And in my old videos, I used to show you the significance of the 52 and the 88 in my personal ciphers. I don't really do those anymore. It's too confusing to people. So the exact 500 days or Antichrist amount of days from that last total solar that made the X across America to what would be Xing out America and the rest of the earth, as we would then be living in the book of Revelation in real time on that August 21st or August 23rd date, whether you want to say it's the date of the Right Eye One event or the day of his rising on the third day. It's a spiritual rising, as Satan will possess the body of Donald Trump and go into perdition, running World War III, who can make war with the beast. But nobody will know that he's alive because he didn't really die. It was the twin or the clone, the twin Trumps, Twin Towers, Return of the King, or One World Trade Tower, Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, followed by Lord of the Ring, Return of the King, or The Dark Knight, then The Dark Knight Rises, or The Twin Towers and One World Trade Tower. It's all part of their ritual of what's coming upon this earth. And I think we have to take a hard look at Julius Augustus, or August 21st, which would be July 51st over to July 53rd. I think we have to take a really hard look at that August 21st date as being the event day. Again, it would be the 8th anniversary of that total solar eclipse. That makes the X across America. So let's run it. It would be, let me see, let me run this 821. So it's 8 years and 2 days. Remember, text to Trump is 88022. There's an 802 in the middle of that, and it's 8 years, no months, 2 days. So it's 802 perfectly. 70176 hours. Remember, 176 days between both total lunar eclipses, where the midpoint was on that August 12th date, August 12th, 2022. I want to look at that also. And there on the rising, there it is, 11/7. 3 years, 11 days, there it is, 3/11, which is when they had their 2020 event on 3/11, followed by Trump's March 13th. Remember, 3/11 is opposite 9/11. 9/11 was all about the rising because September 1's the 7th month. That means the event really took place on 7/11. But most countries write the date backwards from us. So the date written was 11/7, about those Twin Towers, which was all about One World Trade Tower rising. It was really all about the rising, the beast rising from the pit, Revelation 11/7. That's very significant that you get this 8/12 midpoint of two total lunar, two total solars, Sirius rising, all of that to the rising date. It's 1107 days. I didn't know that going into this video. That really cements it for me. This rising would take place on a Saturday. The event would take place on a Wednesday. I mean, excuse me, on a Thursday. But I was thinking Wednesday would be the eve. If we look at when Wednesday came out, it did come out on that year, 2022. It came out on November 23rd on a Wednesday. It's a perfect 33 months to the rising day of Wednesday TV series. But if we run the Wednesday to the event, she would be representing the eve of. There's your perfect October 2nd or 1002 days to the Thursday event. If we run the Wednesday television series to the Wednesday on the 20th, it's 1001 days, 2 years, 8 months, 28 days, so 2828. The hours are 24,024. The minutes are 144, 144.0. So 1,441,440. Remember, 440 is Antichrist in Jewish gematria. It's a perfect 143 weeks. Well, y'all want to know why that's perfect. That's another personal cipher. But this is a big deal to me. This is a really big deal to me. If we look at the rising on the 23rd to the Mayflower, that May 5th full moon, it's 841 days. Nothing really significant there. If we look at the date of that last total solar, April 20th, 2023, 850, nothing really significant there. If I look at the December 4th, the first total solar 2021. The last thing I wanted to look at was, mm, yep. I remember the video I did about the paper airplane flying into my right eye. And there was another video I made about my right eye wound when the blood was coming out of my right eye from hitting the gate on 4/26/2022. Another personal cipher of the right eye wound. That does have Antichrist 121 written all over it. 121 3 days of the event, 121 5 days of the rising. The midpoint of both is February 20th. All right, just some little things I wanted to look at. So, look, that's a gigantic event to me. If we look at when The Dark Knight Rises came out, we might as well look at that before we close out. And don't forget, Maggie Gyllenhaal, I forgot to tell you this, so I want to do that. I want to make that real clear. Maggie Gyllenhaal's 11/16 birthday to this potential event on August 21st. She's 17,445 days old. That's 45 for Trump. On the rising day, she is 17,447, 47 for Trump. They make a big deal about the 45 and the 47, and she's a perfect hit. The only person to be in The Dark Knight and Donnie Darko, both signifying the dark and right eye of Donnie, or the Dark Knight, or the Antichrist, or the billionaire from Gotham. The 44 is also significant because 404 is Revelation. It's 404 verses long. So that also is very significant. So now let's go back and look at The Dark Knight Rises to that 23rd. If you look at it, it's 13 years, 1 month, 13 days, or 1313. Revelation 13:3. We know about the Zapruder film 313, the frame, frame 313. If you run it to the event day, it's 13 years, 1 month, 1 day, or 1311. That's funny. I was born at address 404. Well, I was born in the hospital when I went home, or was probably conceived at when I went home. My first home was 404 Lime Street. I've done videos where I've shown you all that before in a personal cipher. Then I moved to 1311 Gilliam Drive. And there is the 1311. Lo and behold, let's look at when The Dark Knight was released on 7/18. It's 6243. There's your 62 for Revelation. Now, Mamma Mia came out when The Dark Knight came out, and Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again came out on the same day The Dark Knight Rises came out. But where The Dark Knight and Mamma Mia came out on the exact same day of the exact same year, Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again came out 6 years later, but on the same day on 7/20, but on 2018. So that's a hidden gem. So I want to take a look at that on the rising day. Nothing really that sticks out at me. What else did I want to look at? Um, Donnie Darko. Let's go look at Donnie Darko's release of October 26th. It's a perfect 8,700. Wow. 8,700 even days. Yikes. 285 months. 285 is the address of One World Trade Tower. Perfect. Because on the rising day, 8,702 days, but still the 285 months, 28 days. Perfect. Now let's go look at the Sundance release of Donnie Darko. '8982 or 8980. Let's also, while we're there, look at 9/11. By the way, 89, it's 8982. And if you look at 89, 89 is in the number of the Jewish Hebrew gematria of both Donald Trump and Donald J. Trump. One is 1189, the other is 589. 89 is a gigantic number, and why the event taking place on August 7th, rising on August 9th, is the biggest playlist I have on this channel. But the 98 in the middle of those days, the 98th verse, is Revelation 6:2. Again, the 62. Revelation is 602 in Strong's Concordance, and it's verse 6:2 or 602. It's Revelation chapter 6, verse 2 is the white horse crowning Bible verse. 62 is gigantic cipher. And again, my number ends in 62. My number is 82362. 7 times 6 times 1961. It ends in that 62 and it begins with the 823. We might as well run my birthday to this potential event of 823. And I am 23/4/24 days old, but notice 64 years old, 1 month, 17 days. There's your 11/7 rising right there. So I will be 64 years old, good Lord willing, 1 month, 17 days. There's your 11/7 built into the rising day. That's fascinating, folks. And if you've been with me long enough, you know the 424, 42 and 24 are my favorite numbers. That's a long story. But that's gigantic right there. So we look at Donnie Darko to the event 8980. And we want to look at September 11th or 9/11. Did we do that yet? It's 87. There's your 45 again. 87/45 days on the event. 87/47 days on the rising. So your 45/47 combination is in the 9/11 event of 2001 and Maggie Gyllenhaal, her days old. These are just gigantic ciphers for the event taking place on the 8-year anniversary of the first X across America. And there's your Carbondale, Illinois midpoint. August 21st, 2017, April 8th, 2024. I showed y'all videos how at the time my condo that I lived in was 408. But this would be just an absolutely if they pulled that stunt, or if the Lord has it planned out, because this is all the Lord's script. This is all the Lord's doing. On Isaiah 45:7, it says, I create evil, I create darkness, I, the Lord, do all these things. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. And he's also declared the end from the beginning, from Genesis to Revelation, from ancient times to the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, I will do my pleasure. That's Isaiah 46:10. This is the Lord's story. There's no such thing as free will. Lost sheep get the call. So this is a gigantic, big deal. This August 21st, event day. Now, it could happen on a Wednesday, as the TV show Wednesday had the word woe in the title of all 8 series. And woe is what begins Zechariah 11:17's Bible verse. So we might as well also go to for the 21st, we might as well look at the Heidi Bowl, 11:17. If it's a hit, I'll explain it. It's a hit. It's a direct hit. So Donald is 119 in simple gematria, and Trump is 88 in simple gematria. When you add 119, which that's when they released Donnie Darko at Sundance, 119, January 19th. If you add 119 plus 88, you get 207. And his rising, the event is 207.31, but his rising is 207.33. I think we know about their 33, don't we? Okay, so the date of the Heidi Bowl, 11/17/1968, on the movie marquee of Groundhog Day, it said Heidi 2, signifying the second 9/11 or the second 11/17, or excuse me, the 11/17 event of Zechariah 11:17. On 11/17/1968, the right eye utterly darkened logo Raiders played the Jets, which brought down the twin Trumps and killed Donnie Darko, the jet engine. So, and the game was on NBC, and they didn't show the end of the game, which is a very significant game at the time. And they started this movie Heidi on time, and it broke the switchboard at NBC. So they claimed the Heidi game broke the switchboard of NBC. Heidi game. It's on Wikipedia. There's the program, Jets or Raiders/Jets. And 66713 across the board for the Jets. 77821. There's your 821. Built into the scores by quarter. How do you score 8 points? Touchdown, 2-point conversion. Look at the first 3 quarters, 667. Now watch my number times the year. Well, let's go back to my number, 82362. Whoops, let's go back to my number, 82362. Times this year, 2025. Goodness gracious. I accidentally hit the 9 button. Times this year, times 2025. There's your 667 built into that score. Look at that score, 66713. 77821. There's your 821 date of your Zechariah 11:17. It's built into their ritual. This is absolutely blowing my mind. They scripted everything right down to the letter, didn't they? If we look at Groundhog Day, which was 1993, February 4th was the premiere date, 11,888 on the rising, on the 86ing day, 11,886, the 88 being 86th. Perfection. The Groundhog Day wide release on the Friday, 187 is right in the middle, 11,878 days. On the rising day, 1188, 11,880 days even. Folks, I think we got our date. If you look at the hours, it begins with 285 on the rising day. 285 again is the address of One World Trade Tower. And if we look at One World Trade Tower, it was 2014. On 11/3. Nothing very significant there for me. Well, if you include both dates, it is, which they do. There's your 47, 45 combination again. 3,947 days, direct hit on the rising day. You're always allowed to include both dates. 3,945. So we have 3 45, 47 connections. The only other big cipher I've ever thought was the big cipher was the total solar eclipse on the summer solstice, 6/21/2001. There's your 88. 8,827 days on the event, 8,829 days on the rising. Every single smash hit is taking place. And I want you to look at this total solar event date, which I believe in the film 2001: A Space Odyssey, when it opens up with that solar eclipse over the monolith, that's why I think that total solar is the cipher. I did a video one time on this channel, if not mistaken. It went across all 3 channels. And it was titled, if I just go to the channel and search the word cipher, how 6/21 is the cipher. It's not coming up, unfortunately. Is the cipher. The cipher for the event is, that's the video. So that was the video. There's your 6/21 in my video.
So
There it is, 6/21/2001, and I ran it to 9/11. 2001, it was 82 days. So I now want to, now that that's a direct hit, I want to look at our midpoint in 2020. There was a midpoint, the 2 total solars that made the X across America. There was a total solar at the exact midpoint, since we've been talking about midpoints and how significant they are. It was December 14th. It was when they the initial date of the therapy for the illness was administered. And it was also when Biden got his electorals. 4 years, 8 months, 9 days. It's 89 is coded, which is Trump and Jewish gematria and simple gematria both have the 89. And if you run it to the event day, it's 1711. Nothing gigantic though, jumping off. The first Q drop, I just looked at that. The first QAnon post was October. I mean, there it is, October 28th, 2017. I want to look at that too. October 28th, which is the Gateway Arch date. The first Q drop, there's your 7 years, 9 months, 79 is murder. But if you run it to the rising day, there's your 285 again, the address of One World Trade Tower. 285, 6 days. Look at the weeks, 408 weeks. 408 was the date of the second total solar made the X across America. Watch this. St. Louis Gateway Arch. So the Gateway Arch opened on October 28th, the Gateway Arch date, Bill Gates' birthday, Gateway Arch date, October 28th, 1965. I want to run this date to 1965 on his rising. $21,849. That's not big. Bill Gates' birthday.
According to Wikipedia,
I say that's not big, but
Life and
that 49 is Trump.
Henry Gates III was born on October.
Hey, it's 3:22 a.m. y'all.
In Seattle, Washington.
October 28th, 1985 or 1955, excuse me.
Mary Maxwell Gates.
25502. Here's your 502. Now, when Donnie knocked down the Lone Palm, if we look at Back to the Future, which is always a big cipher, it was July 3rd, which is also when I Pet Goat came out. There's different numberings in there for the rising day. You got your 66 for the Book of Revelation. If you include both dates, you have your 40 years, 1 month, 21 days, your 121 Antichrist, 888 in the years. iPet Goats 2012, we might as well look at also over here. And there's your murder. 79 is murder. And the 97th verse of Revelation is the opening of the seals, which begins Revelation chapter 6, the four horses. And it begins with 47 in the days, his significant number. If you run it to the rising day, it's 47.99. But like I said, if you include both dates, you get your 121 Antichrist. And it's a perfect 4,800 days. 48 is Donald Trump or Donald J. Trump in one of the base ciphers. Gematria calculator. You key in Donald Trump. It's 48 in reduction. So that 48, I lost where I was, but it's a perfect 4,800 days. from the iPet Goat release on YouTube. The LeBron murder cipher of all the 38s, that was on February 7th, 2023. Might as well run that. 21,888 in the hours. The movie The Hours on Christmas Day, telling us to always pay attention to the hours. And $198 equals 68. I want to go back and see what I missed. Yeah, LeBron's murder date is 9/26, or 2 years, 6 months, 14 days, 6/14 is Trump's birthday. So it's murder saying to Donald Trump, because 6/14 is another way to say him. It's 2 years, or the number TO, or the word TO. That's a big deal right there. Cryptically. Oh, what else? What else did I want to look at? Something else popped in my head to look at real quick. Hang on. So when they first walked on the moon, remember he's the moon child? It's 20,486 days on the 86ing day. That's perfect. On the rising day, it's 20,488. Remember, 48 and 88 are both Donald Trump. Absolute perfection what they did there. Goodness gracious alive, knowing we never actually did land or walk on the moon. Because we all know the moon is made of cheese. I'm kidding, but it's just a light in the sky right above us. On the flat circle of the Earth, we're surrounded by Antarctica. The ice wall, that's what holds in the water. We're like a big bowl. But that's absolutely fascinating. If you look at the film 2001: A Space Odyssey at their site, at International Movie Database, it's 62622. So you have your Revelation coded twice, that's 62. And then you have 3 dates: April 3rd, May 1st, April 2nd. So April 2nd, April 3rd, May 1st, all in 1968. Let's go to 68. April 2nd. $20962. Well, 2096 is Eve in Strong's Concordance. 2096 is Eve in Strong's Concordance. Let's go to blueletterbible.com, which is not coming in right now. The AI is playing games with us. Let's just key in Eve 2096 Strong's Concordance. It'll pop up right there. Bible Hub, Strong's, Greek Eve 2096. Here it is at another website, 2096. 2096, there's your Blue Letter Bible, G2096. Again, the site's not coming in. Will it come in at Bible Hub? There it is, 2096. Eva. So there's your 2096. And Eve represents the church. On the 86ing day, it's 20960 even. May 1st, well, May 3rd was the other date. You don't get a lot different there. 688 in the months, by the way, and 68 is also his name in one of the base ciphers, which also matches Antichrist. Gematria calculator. When you go to the Gematria calculator and you key in Donald J. Trump, you get your 68 in reverse reduction. Same as Antichrist. 68 reverse reduction. So he's a match to Antichrist with that 68, and it's 688 months. So it's Donald J. Trump, Antichrist, 88 all together in the months with this 2001 A Space Odyssey release. Various premieres or England. And On the Rising Day, it's 20,933 days, but more importantly, 57 years, 3 months, 22 days, or 322 code. So you got the 33 and the 322 all coded right there. Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Their big anniversary month. That's enough for this video. I love you all very much. I think we might have our date, but I've said that many, many times.